Another Godzilla Day is come and gone, and you know what that means. Another Godzilla Day short! Woo! Fest Godzilla 2, Shinji Burning, the beginning of the second phase of Godzilla Day shorts, featuring Godzilla 2000 as the new lead Godzilla for the series. I have a lot of things to say about Shinji Burning, but there was something in particular that I failed to mention previously, that being last year's Godzilla Day short, Great Monster Battle. I talked about both the 2022 and 2023 shorts, but for some reason, not the 2024 short. So I felt like if I did a video talking about Shinji Burning, then I'd have to dedicate a decent chunk of that video to also talking about Great Monster Battle, which, while it absolutely has a place, I don't necessarily want to do, but then it hit me. I've talked about Godzilla Day shorts before, but those videos are a couple years old by now, and I still have 4 other Godzilla Day shorts that I haven't talked about. Why don't I do a video where I rank all of them, talking about all the ones that I haven't mentioned and re-review the ones that I've already discussed? So that's what we're doing today. We're ranking all of the Godzilla Day shorts, the 6 tokusatsu films, alongside the 2 gemstone ones. We have a lot of ground to cover today, so we've got no time to lose. Let's begin the Godzilla Day short ranking with the worst one and work our way up from there.
That was just a bunch of cheap walk cycles!
Absolute shocker to no one, but the worst Godzilla Day short is also the first Godzilla Day short. Godzilla appears at Godzilla Fest. It's also by far the one I have the least to say about. Godzilla shows up, he walks around, destroys stuff, and then it's revealed at the end that this was actually a film, and the film crew and Godzilla's suit actor pop up, wink at the camera, and then it's all over. It's sort of a nothing burger in that regard, but at the same time, it's hard not to find it at least a little bit cute. This was before Godzilla Day shorts became a huge thing in the fandom. Toho weren't celebrating any anniversaries yet, they kind of just put a bunch of stuff together and quickly shot a little 2-minute short and called it there. Cute is absolutely the word to describe this one. At the end of the day, it's hard to get so worked up over something like this. There's nothing to be offended by, it's harmless. And if nothing else, it does serve as a humble reminder of where this series all started. Now we have these exciting, bombastic monster battles to look forward to every year, so it's nice to look back at where it all began. It's easily the worst one, but again, it's cute, and if nothing else, it does serve as a reminder of how we'll only be going up from here.
Godzilla's gonna fight the Hedorah.
I remember the hype surrounding the Godzilla vs. Hedorah short so clearly. Not only were we getting another Suitmation Godzilla battle for the first time in nearly 20 years, but it was a Final Wars reunion, bringing out both the Godzilla and Hedorah suits from that film. It was an exciting time for sure, and this was when the Godzilla Day shorts started becoming proper events in the fandom, something that we could look forward to every year. I remember really liking it when it first dropped, but my feelings on it soured over time due to the higher quality of the other shorts that followed it. While yes, this is still towards the very bottom of the list, I will admit I was too harsh on it in previous videos. This is a fun short. The big theme of all of the Godzilla Day shorts, even the 2 gemstone ones, is that nearly each one is a massive improvement over the previous in terms of filmmaking. But even in the second film, you can see the higher levels of ambition immediately. More varied set design, more elaborate camera angles, and obviously a kaiju fight. Something that's become a dime a dozen in these films started here, and it's not too shabby either. The biggest problem I have is the fact that most of the fight is obscured, and while the Wonder is undeniably cool, I do wish we could see more of the fight, you know? I can only get so much out of the occasional sludge splatter or atomic breath rising behind the buildings. Other than that though, again, the fight is not too shabby. It's carried largely by cool camera angles, a lot of the camera being positioned below the monsters to make them look big, something that is weirdly only present in these 2 films. Funny. I think undeniably the thing that holds us back more than anything are the quality of the suits themselves. Hedorah looks pretty good for being a near 20-year-old prop, but Godzilla just looks awful. People ragging on the Final Wars suit in these shorts is probably the most common meme surrounding them, but Godzilla looks really bad in this. He can't even properly move his mouth, so most of the time he's just leaving his mouth open like an idiot. It looks cheap. Thank God that for every short following this that used the Final Wars suit, they had one that gave him a mouth that could open. Other than that though, those are my big issues with the Hedorah short. It's still really neat at the end of the day, and if nothing else, it's a film that I can look back on with a good bit of nostalgia. Well, as much as I can for a short that came out 4 years ago, but you know how it is. Godzilla vs. Megalon is probably the short that I A, think about the least, and B, have the most similar thoughts on it as I did when I first watched it. I feel like this section is just going to be me largely recycling that section of the original video, but screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. This is definitely a cool short. If nothing else, it's above the last few because of the ambition and the production design. Comparing this to Gigan Rex, it's impressive how much more they were able to do with Megalon. The composite shots of Godzilla in the city are cool, as are the military bases and Seatopia. I do think the lighting in this short is also much much more dynamic as well. I don't think any shot in this is just midday the same way Gigan Rex was. It's evenly split between sunset and nighttime, and it does make for a much more visually interesting short. The animation is also notably better. The models are much more fluid and well animated. You don't get as much janky stiffness as you did with Gigan Rex. Godzilla being able to use his atomic energy into punches and kicks is a really cool moment of wish fulfillment for me specifically. And of course, how could I not mention how cool Megalon is in this? He's one of the biggest aura farmers in these Godzilla Day shorts, from his awesome new redesign, his awesome new sound design, and his awesome updated abilities. Nothing's gonna beat the OG Megalon for me, but Gemstone Megalon is cool as hell. I like him a lot. And one slight addendum from the OG video, I mentioned that one of the things I didn't like about it is how we didn't get a Gemstone Megalon figure. Well, now we have one, baby, so we can recreate the Reiwa Godzilla vs. Megalon setup we've been dreaming of. Hell yeah! Overall, Godzilla vs. Megalon is cool, and I have nothing really against it like the previous two shorts. My big takeaway is that this is simply the other Gemstone short. I've made it no secret that when it comes to the Godzilla Day shorts, I'm always more excited for the Suitmation ones. This is why I wasn't really upset that we didn't get a third one in 2024. Confused as to why we didn't, sure, but not really worked up about it. I'll explain more of my jaded attitude towards these shorts once we get to Gigan Rex, as to not extend this section and this video any further. There's more that I want to say regarding other shorts, the next one in particular. But before we talk about that one, I do want to stress that this is a thoroughly good and entertaining Godzilla Day short. If you want a one-sentence review of Godzilla vs. Megalon, it's just, yeah, it's cool. Anyway.
If you can't take the heat, run.
And now we come to the most recent short, Fest Godzilla 2 Shinjuku Burning, and I really like this one. I know this short has been somewhat divisive since it first dropped because people were expecting something more in line with Great Monster Battle, but for me, I think this one genuinely kinda rips. For being essentially a spiritual remake of Godzilla Appears at Godzilla Fest, I think this one absolutely clobbers that film in terms of its production design. This is the best that these Suitmation shorts have ever looked. The details on the miniatures are exquisite. I love the little details such as the janitor work in the office or silhouettes of people in one of the buildings. It adds so much life to this world and it's total eye candy. I can't pretend like the compositing here is perfect, but it's definitely the best it's ever looked in a Godzilla Day short. I think that the standout detail for Shinjuku Burning is that a vast majority of it is shot as a oneer. It's insanely ambitious, with the first 4 minutes and 45 seconds of this 6-minute short being filmed entirely in one take, and the end result of which is one of the more unique and dynamic shots in any piece of Godzilla media, really. It's not the flashiest thing in the world, but the fact that so much of it is done entirely in one shot is commendable. The Godzilla 2000 suit is also such a step up from the decaying Final War suit that had been used in nearly every Toku short prior to this. I think the most noteworthy thing about this short is the brief but memorable inclusion of what they're calling Burning Millennium Godzilla, an addition that was made due to Toho celebrating the 30th anniversary of Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, as well as the 30th anniversary of Burning Godzilla, something that I'm sure every Godzilla fan was surprised by. I know I was. I do think it was an inspired choice to combine these two suits together. Both of these suits are fan favorites, often seen as being related to each other in fandom culture as well. I'm sure a lot of people remember that old theory of 2000s Godzilla actually being a grown-up version of Godzilla Jr. seen at the end of Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. 2000 and Destoroyah are sort of sister movies to each other also, both of them sharing the same director, Takao Kawara. So I think it's more than appropriate to have these two designs mashed together for Shinjuku Burning, and to be fair, it does look insanely cool. We only see it for a brief moment at the end as Godzilla's about to face off against a new enemy monster, but what we do see of it is very cool looking. I remember being very happy with this short when it premiered on Godzilla Day. In fact, I would have put it in my top 3 then, but with more time to think about the whole thing, I think putting it in the number 5 spot feels right. It's much more simple in comparison to the shorts that we'll be talking about later, but it's hard not to watch this and be impressed by the visuals on screen. That oneer alone easily puts this above the last 3 shorts. I'm eager to see where the Fest Godzilla 2 series takes us next, especially with next year's short supposedly bringing in a brand new enemy monster for Godzilla to face off that fans can vote for. Oh man, that's gonna be cool. Shinjuku Burning made for a very promising start to this new series, and if nothing else, it really shows just how far the Godzilla Day shorts have come since 2020. It may not be as flashy as what we'll be talking about next, but I still love it all the same. Alrighty, we've reached the point where my journey with covering the Godzilla Day shorts had begun. The 2 Gigan shorts, Godzilla Fest 3 Gigan Attacks and Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex. I'm on level with you guys. Rewatching both of these shorts back to back and deciding where to rank them for this video has easily been the most difficult thing I've done for this video specifically, because I love both of these shorts so much. They're so cool and bring so much to the table. I basically love them both equally, but I do have to pick one above the other. It's a really tough choice, but I'm gonna put Gigan Attacks here, though I cannot stress enough how close these two are in their rankings. I think the thing that made me decide to put Gigan Attacks underneath Gigan Rex is a problem that all the shorts here post Gigan Attacks have. For the most part, the short has a really great flow to it. It's constantly going and the action is fun and exciting. But once Godzilla gets knocked out, you get this drawn out sequence that involves Gigan marching over to the down Godzilla, looking at him, and then deciding to throw his claws at him before Godzilla grabs him and finishes him off. The pacing grinds to a halt for a minute for this scene, and while I understand that it's partially done to build tension, it did sort of lose me a bit when rewatching it for this video. The only other complaint is the Gigan suit itself. I mentioned it in the original video, and my grievances with this new suit have only grown the more time has gone on. It's a weirdly squat and fat design, which is not how the original Gigan suit looks, who's a little chubby, but he's also a little taller. The new suit looks like he took Showa Gigan and smushed him down. It's a weird look for me, but I will say that whenever the suit goes on for meet and greets, like the ones held at Godzilla Day, he is an absolute delight. Look at this mischievous little shit. He looks like he put a thumbtack on the teacher's desk. He looks like he'd bend the hose so it stops spraying water, causing you to look down at it, only for him to release it and spray water all over your face. He looks like he'd give you one ice cube when you specifically ask for a couple of them.
You what?
I love him, I want to meet him, he's my friend. But that's it. Everything else about this short is absolute cinema. Starting with Gigan himself, this is as close to perfect as I could really ask for with an interpretation of Gigan. He's a vicious cutthroat who's always gunning to kill whoever he sets his sights on, but when something goes wrong, he freaks out. It's classic Gigan in the best way possible. The fight choreography in this is also insanely cool. The camera swinging around all close to the monsters makes this battle in particular feel super fast paced and vicious. It's a very exciting fight. It also has another Godzilla Day staple to it, that being a oneer of the action going through a building, something that we'll be seeing again in later films such as Shinji Burning. Godzilla's suit is also noticeably improved here, this time giving him an opening mouth, and not much else. Hey, you can polish a turd, but at the end of the day, it's still a turd. The set design is great here. It's notably the first one of these shorts to be filmed on a proper soundstage as opposed to being set up outdoors, and I think the indoor nighttime lighting adds a lot in making this feel more official than the likes of Godzilla Appears at Godzilla Fest or Godzilla vs. Hedorah, if that makes any sense. All in all, Gigan Attacks is awesome, and it's where I think the Godzilla Day shorts started being truly exceptional. Now, of course, I did mention that this was side by side with Gigan Rex, so you know what? Let's just get on with it. You don't even need the number card. You just go on and
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it!
Remember when I mentioned how much hype there was surrounding the Hedorah short? Well, Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex had just as much, if not more, hype going into it. So, context for the uninformed. Back in 2019, there was a short that came out simply called G vs. G. The short itself featured several different clips of Godzilla facing off against one and soon to be several different Gigans. G vs. G was part of a Godzilla-themed contest held by the company Gemstone, which is why this, as well as Megalon, are referred to under the Gemstone label. G vs. G is one of the winners of the contest, and as a reward, Toho would reach out to the people who made the winning shorts and help them create further projects with them. Now, the short itself was pretty popular, but when it was announced that a sequel to G vs. G would be a part of 2021's Godzilla Day celebrations, the hype was through the roof. It was then pushed back to 2022 to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Gigan, and also renamed Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex. Once the short released, it seemed like it was all the fandom could talk about for a good while. The main point of this discussion was how the short was seemingly sort of a fan-made sequel to the Heisei era of Godzilla films, with a lot of Heisei imagery and iconography, such as the soundtracks being reused for this short, as well as Megumi Odaka, the actress who played Miki Sakusa in the Heisei films, playing a part as the narrator in the opening. It really did seem like that was the only reason people cared about Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex, and subsequently Godzilla vs. Megalon. This did admittedly make me feel a little jaded towards the Gemstone shorts. I always liked them, don't get me wrong, but when the main discourse around them can basically be summed up as, "Woo, Ooh, Godzilla Jr.'s alive and he fought Gigan. Can you really blame me? With that said though, Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex does absolutely rip. Again, there's a really good sense of energy to this. Once Godzilla and later Gigan Rex show up, that film is constantly moving. It's very snappy and thus making it a very easy watch. Alongside that, you also have a cool new interpretation of Gigan as well. I praise Gigan Attacks for sticking to the true characterization of Gigan, but reinventing Gigan as a swarming monster with a king at the center that's in charge of the others is super interesting, and I'd be down to see this take on Gigan again in the future. Complaints here are basically just nitpicks at this point. I do find some of the animation to be a little stiff. There's a couple instances where some monsters are thrown and smacked around and they just don't move at all, but that's it. That's basically my only complaint with this short. I love it. I love its energy, I love its Gigans, I love the Moonlight Sonata needle drop that plays homage to the original G vs. G short. It's an absolute banger and definitely worthy of the hype it's received, but still, there's 2 more shorts that are even better. Going into this video, you guys knew what the top 2 were gonna be. Operation Jet Jaguar and Great Monster Battle. But now that we've reached the top 2, which one will be awarded the silver and which one will be given the gold? Well, let's find that out right now.
This is the ultimate showdown of ultimate destiny.
Godzilla Fest 5 Great Monster Battle is the finale to the first season of Godzilla Day shorts, and what a stellar way to go out it was. Godzilla and Jet Jaguar facing off against Big Shitter was an awesome thing to see live when it dropped on the Godzilla Day 2024 stream, and rewatching it for this video is still just as exciting. Right away, one of the best things about Great Monster Battle are the improvements to the suits. In Operation Jet Jaguar, the Godzilla suit still looks like a polished turd. You can pretty easily see the back cover of the suit open up in a handful of shots, and that takes me out of the action easily knowing that the suit is so jank. Great Monster Battle though is the first and only time where I'd say the Godzilla suit actually looks decent. At the very least, this is the best it's ever looked. The head is notably refurbished and it's more in line with how it looked way back in Final Wars. It's still obviously janky, but I'm glad that if they were able to use this in one last Godzilla Day short, Toho at least made it the best it can be. Oh, and Hedorah too. Operation Jet Jaguar's Hedorah suit looked like absolute dookie from an ass, but here it looks great. Those new heads really give the suit new life. I love the blank wide eyes. Funny how those features once found in the GMK Godzilla suit found their way onto Ghidorah's suit from the same movie. On the topic of Hedorah, I love how he's depicted in this. There's so many little traits given to Hedorah that I've always wanted to see. He has the energy shield like the Godzilla vs. Evangelion ride Hedorah does. He has gravity beams that actually manipulate gravity like Kaiser and again the Eva ride Hedorah does. And he has multicolored gravity beams like what was originally posed for the Heisei Hedorah. King Hedorah is awesome in this, and if we're including more than just theatrical Ghidorahs, this might be my second favorite King Ghidorah right behind Eva Ghidorah. Hot take, but I'm being completely serious. Great Monster Battle is in general the Godzilla Day short that just has the most aura to it. So many sequences are just the characters aura farming. King Ghidorah is doing it like 90% of the time, Jet Jaguar with the Gigan claws is aura farming to the umpteenth degree, and do I even need to mention this shot? In general, it seems like this is the Godzilla Day short to end all Godzilla Day shorts. So what are my issues with it? Well, I do have a couple. To me, Great Monster Battle just doesn't feel as dynamic as Operation Jet Jaguar does. That short has the camera moving around all over the place, constantly changing perspective from medium shots to close-ups to ground level. It's an incredibly dynamic film visually and is consistently very exciting. Great Monster Battle, on the other hand, while having some shots that are definitely dynamic, feels a lot more stock standard. If I had to make a guess as to why, filming with Hedorah definitely made things more complicated than Operation Jet Jaguar, so they had to work with the limitations of an unruly King Ghidorah suit. The end result does unfortunately come off as less exciting when compared to its immediate predecessor. My only other complaint with this is that I wish the short had more monsters in it than just Godzilla, Jet Jaguar, and King Ghidorah. While it was obviously cool seeing these 3 together, this was the film to celebrate 70 years of Godzilla. You'd think they want to bring back some other monsters, maybe refurbish some of the other kaiju suits like Anguirus or Rodan to add to the roster, maybe bring back Mechagodzilla because it was also his 50th anniversary that year as well. I don't want to say that Great Monster Battle was underwhelming. Again, it's insanely cool and easily the second best of the Godzilla Day shorts. It's a wicked cool way to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the franchise by giving us a really cool Suitmation Godzilla battle with a matchup nobody expected to see. It just felt like a little more could have been added to it to make this the real MVP of Godzilla Day shorts, but thankfully there was one more short that managed to do just that.
I've got a rig.
I stated in my Godzilla 2023 shorts video that Operation Jet Jaguar was the best of the Godzilla Day shorts, and 2 years later that statement still holds true. Almost everything in this short is the best that it has been. The fight choreography is on another level. The running, the flipping, the kicking, all of it is so fast paced and dynamic and fun. I think that the main benefit of working with a character that is humanoid in appearance, choreographing a fight like this is simply easier to do. I've talked a lot about ambition with the effects here, and I think that funny enough, having this be probably the easiest Godzilla Day short to film, excluding the Godzilla solo shorts of course, made way for the team behind it to really hone in and make a short that takes advantage of literally all the tools that they were given, and I think that it works out wonderfully in their favor. The cinematography here, as I mentioned earlier, is also just so insanely good. The camera constantly moving around the different parts of the set, once again, makes it feel so much more dynamic than any other short. The Jet Jaguar suit is near perfect. My only complaint for it being that the head is slightly too large and that some parts of the suit look like they're made of this weird fabric-y material instead of metal. The ending is still so insanely hype. Both monsters forming a proper alliance to beat the ever-loving tar out of King Hedorah, accompanied with the Godzilla against Mechagodzilla soundtrack behind it, simply feels like it was specifically crafted to get me to soy the fuck out. Operation Jet Jaguar is simply the best to ever do it. Godzilla Day shorts never got more exciting to watch than this. Others may have had more hype going into them, others may have done certain characters incredibly well, whether it be interesting new reinventions unique to the shorts or staying true to classic characterizations, but none of them ever reached the sheer amount of just pure, raw, unadulterated hype that Operation Jet Jaguar did, and I am more than happy to call this the best of the Godzilla Day shorts. So this was a fun video, wasn't it? Truth be told, I wasn't expecting this one to be as long as it was, but I'm glad it ended up being that way, because I was able to talk about everything I wanted to with these Godzilla Day shorts. In case you couldn't tell already, I'm a big fan of these. While the theatrical films are now going in a direction of, let's release both a Toho film and a MonsterVerse film every 3 years, I'm glad that for the past 5 years, we've had a new short from Toho to come out and have the fandom come together to be excited and share our thoughts on them. Godzilla Day shorts have never been the most substantial things, but they're fun. Godzilla Day shorts are just fun, dude. I'm very glad to know that we are living in a world where every year we can get something cool like this from Toho, and I'm even more glad that we're going to be getting even more of these shorts for the next few years. But of course, these are just my thoughts, and I want to know yours. What did you think of my ranking, and how would you personally rank the Godzilla Day shorts? Be sure to sound those thoughts and more down in the comment section below. Be sure to follow my social medias, join my Discord server, and subscribe if you like what you saw and want to see more. Either way, I'm Sam the Gigan fan, telling you all... line?